All right, guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Adam, also known as the Plant Power Coach. Today, we have the privilege and honor to speak to Stefano. Stefano, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Look, again, I appreciate your time today. So I want to ask you a few very basic questions. I know you've got a significant following. I think you're 70, 80,000 followers on Instagram so far. So really kind of growing a really good community there. But for the people that don't know you, potentially people who follow me but don't follow you yet, can you give us a little bit of an intro of who you are and how you got here today?
Absolutely. So yeah, 70K followers, that's the actual number. And Stefano Vegan Calisthenics is my name on Instagram. And it all started with with me wanting to be a coach. And after COVID, I started to bring my coaching online, and this is where I started to look more into veganism. And so I realized what happened behind closed door of slaughterhouse footage, and I wanted to mix in like being a coach and veganism. So what I do now is helping vegan men build muscle, and being a living proof that the weak vegan stereotype is a myth. And beside that, actually, I should say, together with that, I raise awareness to what happens in the animal industry farming. So I do animal rights activism.
I love that. And I've been following you for a long time now, and I can very much relate to you on many aspects. Obviously, first of all, being vegan, but also, it sounds a bit weird, but being a male as well. I think men get a huge stereotype against them when it comes to veganism. So what is your experience between talking with men compared to women when it comes to veganism and activism?
Vegan, wow. Is there a difference? Because I mean, no, I guess
More
I
from a
guess
response, from their response point of view.
yeah. I'm thinking, because you get really different kind of answers. I would say that when women are like open-minded, they do have that empathic reaction easier than men do. Men are more like kind of serious and trying to rationalize it, but you really get different answers from different people. But I would say that if we look at statistics and what actually the vegan community is, you have more women than men. So that tells you that definitely the fact that women are more in contact with their emotion, right? It makes them more likely to connect to the emotions of animals.
Yeah. Excellent. I've kind of skipped ahead because I was very interested in the part about being a male activist. But before we could dive into that, like this channel, my sort of content, I try to revolve around three things. Number one, veganism. Number two, plant-based nutrition. So obviously tying in the sort of healthy nutrition, plant-based nutrition. And last but not least, of course, fitness. So exercise, that sort of stuff as well. What's your experience with those three things? So from a vegan standpoint, when did you go vegan? When were you into fitness? And what does your sort of nutrition look like?
All right. So my plant-based journey started 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, and it started with the environment. So that's why I said plant-based, because I was motivated for the environment. And even though, for these first 3 years where my being vegan or plant-based was motivated by the environment, I was almost 100% plant-based. Like, for me, looking at what happened to the environment was enough of a motivation to say, yeah, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want to look for a better way to do it. I just want to go away from meat, dairy, and eggs, and all this stuff that is clearly unsustainable. And I would have like fish once per year for all Christmas holiday, because it was the only thing that taste wise would really make me like, oh, I miss this. But then, as I said, when COVID hit, I had more time to navigate the vegan thing more, and I watched Dominion. I watched some activists talking about veganism, like Joey Carbstrong and Gary Yourofsky. And so I made that connection. I realized that it's not only about environment, but actually, the same selfish behavior that humans have towards the environment starts from not respecting sentient beings. And so, I realized that even eating one prawn per year is not okay, because this prawn is a sentient being that wants to live, and if I can't live healthy, eating something else, like that's what I should be doing. And so now is, like these 3 first years as a plant-based, then after that I wanted to be straight away an activist, because I just saw myself in Joy Capstrong having these debates with non-vegans in the street, because I started to hear of all of these really incoherent arguments, like, but what about lions? Lions eat meat, and therefore I can eat meat, like, and I've always been a coherent and rational person, right? So something that I never liked about humanity is their weakness, and how they find incoherent and irrational way to justify things, right? So I really enjoy Castron, and so in him something that I could do as well. And so I was motivated to start my activism straight away after that. And I did that. Like, I've been in the last 2-3 years. I'm not very good with dates, sorry, man. So it's always going to be like 2 or 3 years, I don't know. But yeah, like I've been doing street activism and participating or organizing events at least once per week. And I keep and every day on my Instagram, of course. And what I eat, so I always had a simple approach to eating. Thanks to my mom, she always promoted a healthy way of eating at home. In Italy, at least for my understanding, in Italy, the general knowledge about nutrition was that too much red meat and eggs is not good, high in cholesterol, right? So, but then when you say vegan, it's, oh, what are you going to do without meat, Also doctors in Italy, and everywhere around the world, the first thing they would do when you start having, blood pressure, high blood pressure and stuff like that, they would tell you reduce animal products, right? So it always made sense to me that eating more plants was healthy. And my mom always promoted that I would eat vegetables and legumes. And so right now my diet is obviously full plant-based, and I really keep it simple, and I can tell you what I eat in a day in like 2 minutes. In the morning, because it's always the same, mainly in the morning I have cereals with fruits and plant-based milk. I would have a snack in the morning with some nuts, cashew nuts. I like the most, but mixed nuts with some more pieces of fruits. My lunch, which actually it's here because I didn't realize that it was already 1:30. So here you have it. So you have carbs. I always have pasta, rice, or bread. You have legumes. There's going to be lentils, most of the time because I like them the most. But any legumes, seeds for good fats. I like hemp seeds the most. And then you have around 300 grams of vegetables. Again, a mixed match. And then, yes, another snack is going to be the same, like fruits and nuts. And then in the evening, I started to implement a raw meal. So in the evening is going to be some kind of a salad, right? And can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear
Hello?
me okay? I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
And
can hear you. Yep.
yes, now I can hear you. So in the evening it would be a raw meal, some kind of a salad with tofu, like anything green with tomato and avocado. And this is my day of eating.
I love it. This is good. There's a lot to kind of break down there. So, bringing it down to the activism part, this is kind of like a two-part question. As far as I can see online, you speak obviously English, Italian, and Spanish. Do you speak any other languages? Can you hear me okay? I think we're cutting out a bit.
No, Italian, Spanish, and English. I'm studying German, but
Oh, fantastic.
very
So
basic.
from an activism standpoint, I can see it looks like you're doing activism in all three different languages. How is that experience for you, especially like, you know, I mean, speaking multiple languages, do you get confused like what language you're speaking sometimes? What's your experience with that?
Oh, oh yeah, it was confusing indeed, but luckily, like because at the end of the day, the conversation and this kind of conversations get down to kind of repeating the same things over and over. I got better and better in, answering the same questions and telling the same animal practices in the same
Yeah.
language in the different languages, and so I was able uh, to make it fluent.
Mm.
But yes, of course, like speaking multiple languages, it is confusing itself, and so uh, having to rationalize make it even more difficult. But because as I said, I do consistent activism, I've been able to practice.
It's very interesting to hear because I actually speak Spanish myself. Mi madre es española, and
Mhm.
whenever I see your activism in Spanish, I'm like, first of all, I've been there before. I really like that you're doing activism in, I think it was like Plaza Mayor and all these other places you were doing them. And it's very good. The people that you talk to remind me a lot of my family, my cousins, my aunties, my uncles, and I really
Yeah.
like to see that you communicating with these people because I think one thing is in London, London tends to have a lot more diversity. People tend to be a bit more accepting. In places like Italy or Spain, in my opinion, it seems to be a bit harder for people to get through because they have a whole reducitarian mindset or flexitarian mindset. Um, from your experience, what kind of people are the hardest to communicate the message to?
um, I think I think you're right. And again, we go back, I think, to what we mentioned in the beginning. Like different people react differently to veganism. But I must say that recently I've been experiencing a little bit more doing activism in smaller towns around Malaga.
Okay.
And the thing here, the thing is here in Malaga, and
Okay. I think we've just got cut off, so I'm going to give it a second. I'm going to pause the recording and we lost the connection there. It was you was talking about your activism in Malaga has been slightly different in the villages compared to the city.
yes, so it's a bit different because same as in London, in Malaga Center, you have lots of people from all over the world, usually people that travels. They're a little bit more open-minded, they know about veganism compared to people that stay in the same small village their whole life, something like that. There's definitely some different there. I'm 100% sure. Um, and so this is really, what I've seen. In general, around Malaga, all these little villages, they're all tourists. They're full of tourists, so people are open-minded. But for example, when we did went in the first village, which is called Vélez Malaga, and it was really the one where the audience was more like town based and not really tourists or people from all over the world. And one of this has been like one of the first time that I heard live someone bringing up the crop deaths justification. It was coming from a veterinary. So I guess like in these places which are more traditional, um, you do have more resistance.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. I'm also curious, like it sounds like you do a lot of trial and error, like you're testing the waters, testing villages, testing the city, testing different countries as well. I kind of really appreciate you doing that and just kind of seeing the variety and see what kind of responses you get around the world. Okay, so I want to make my next question is
Something, yeah, something,
yeah,
something that
go on.
I can add to that. I can add to that definitely. because where I live, I like to do activism, also organize events where I live as well, because I just need to walk down the street and get there with the television. But I found a problem here with old people, right? So again, here you get different reactions. I had conversation with so many old people that just made the connection and wanted to be vegan. But at the same time, I feel like people that is over 60, especially people that haven't really took care of themselves. These people that just waiting to die. It's just going through life like they are some kind of plant. And these people usually, they don't look very open to change. In fact, I'm limiting my activism close to my house for this reason, because I feel like my time is best used where there is some younger audience or more diverse audience rather than mostly old people.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. My next question, before we even started recording, kind of ties into it. I want to admit it's a fairly difficult question, and I think many vegans will have a different response to this. And there's no right or wrong here. It's simply your opinion. Are vegans better than non-vegans?
Oh, morally, absolutely. Why not? Why shouldn't we say that? Like, as a person, as to the people that a lot of people that trying to bring down veganism, showing how they are perhaps doing better. Let's just talk about hunters. Sometimes get into these argument, like saying that we as vegan going to the supermarket and we kill so many animals through accidental crop deaths, and they just kill one animal per arrow, right? So my answer to that is be a better vegan, right? So grow your own vegetables instead of killing that one animal. Even though that's untrue, because these people don't care. But if you kill an animal, you don't really care about animals. So when you go to a restaurant, you go to a friend's house, whatever, you're not going to say no to animal products because you don't really care. You're making up these arguments just because you're talking with a vegan that and you are upset with the vegan because it's true. It's to you it sounds arrogant and you think they just want to be better than everyone. But I think I've learned that intention, it's very important. I think intention is very important in sharing the vegan message, right? As vegan, we don't want crop deaths to happen, but we need to accept that we live in a modern society. It's a complex society. And when I buy vegetables, my intention is not that the farmer is killing the rabbits all around his farm, but I just cannot control everything. If the whole world would have vegan intentions, then we would have farmer caring about limiting as much as possible any kind of crop deaths, right? So vegans are, yes, morally better than most because they are taking action, they're making a change, right? So generally speaking, I would say yes, because if you're talking to me and you're not vegan, you would be a better person by being vegan. So yes.
Yeah. No, that's a good answer. I like, especially the bit that you mentioned about, the hunter killing with one arrow and then crop death. I had the same conversation on the weekend with someone, and they love to compare this spectrum of like the best case scenario of eating meat and the worst case scenario of eating vegan.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, the same thing. Like, what if I grow my tomatoes in my back garden? Like, I don't have any crop deaths, and it's just like, it's not a fair comparison, in my opinion, anyway. Okay, so next bit
Definitely.
I have is, do you have any non-vegan friends? And if so, how do you feel about them?
Oh, I can go deeper than that. So me and my girlfriend are in some polyamorous relationship, and so she has a girlfriend, and we started to date all together. And she's not vegan, right? And my girlfriend doesn't really care if friends or family aren't vegan. I care more, actually. And it's simply because I think it's important for me, simply because if the person in front of me is not vegan, when we are sharing time together, I would be thinking multiple times of why aren't you vegan, right? And with her specifically, we already had a conversation. She did see a documentary that's called Earthling. You might seen it,
Yep.
or know about it. Very good documentary. If you're not vegan, watch it. Earthling, you find it on YouTube. And so she didn't make the change. She didn't want vegan. She didn't go vegan, right? So she realizes it's wrong, and but she reduced it. She reduced like animal products consumption, but she doesn't make that effort to be vegan all the time. And I guess mostly is because of social pressure. That's why she doesn't do it. And so my answer to that: do I have non-vegan friends? Yes, like in the beginning, when I was doing activism in Milan, we were in a huge group of like vegan activists in Milan. It was amazing. So it was like a true small community of vegan, and my idea was to only spend time with vegans and always have relationships with vegans. But then when I moved to south of Spain, the movement is so much smaller, and I realized that that's just not possible.
Mm.
So I learned to accept. I would say that we are living in a non-vegan world, right?
Yep.
But again, do I have? I believe I don't fully respect people that are non-vegan. So friends, no, I would not probably consider these people, my best friends.
Yep.
So I don't have a straightforward answer, an exact answer to this. But I guess it's what's important is that you learn to navigate as a vegan in a non-vegan world, right? As a general practice for vegans, I think it's good to just put some effort in having a vegan environment, as much as possible around you. At the same time, though, understanding that is not a vegan word, and
Yeah.
most people is not vegan, and not only most people is not vegan, most people will have a how do you call it, resistance towards veganism. Like even if they know about the things they won't go vegan, and you just go crazy if you don't accept that.
Absolutely. The people that are in your life who are vegan, how do you feel about those people who understand veganism, they're on the same page, but don't do activism or are not for activism in a sense?
No. That's well, I guess everyone is different. I have learned something. I told you in the beginning, right? Like one of the things I don't like about humans is their weakness and selfishness, their way of going through life expecting that things go well just because, you're right. So like governments and the system should change, and nothing is on their hands to control. But I made peace with that too. I understand that people are weak, and some people just really struggle to get out of their comfort zone. I've really learned that by being a coach. It's not only about the plan that you give to people. Some people just find any problem they encounter in life as a bigger obstacle as it really is. And so doing animal rights activism is not easy. It's a difficult thing for different reasons. You have so much resistance from people, so that's one thing. So you get people attacking you, right? So especially if you do my type, when you do like conversation, some people attack you, and not everyone is ready to be attacked, right? When you also doing something good. So you have good intention, and you got people attacking you. Like, what the fuck? And it's also what I think, right? Like, what the fuck? I'm trying to do something good. Shut up or understand what I'm saying. And 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 also the other fight is that when you do animal rights activism, you don't really, I think you don't see the results, and it's a bit of an invisible work that you're doing, right? It's not like going to the gym and in 1 month's time you look a bit bigger, or you start a diet and you start seeing your abs. Animal rights activism is basically putting reps without seeing the results. You
Yep.
see them a little bit, of course, but overall, I think it feels like you're not going anywhere.
I've
And
got, go on. Yeah, sorry, go on.
so yeah, and that's why I don't judge people. I just motivate everyone to get out of their comfort zone as much as they can, and remember that, and trying to present it as something that is more of a hobby, right? If you want to do activism, don't think too much of the results and what's going on. Like, just think of it as something that you're doing on a Saturday. What you're doing today? Yeah, I'm going to do some activism on the street and talk to people about veganism, because at the end of the day, like, what are you going to do that's more important? Drinking beer, hanging out with
Yeah.
friends, like, activism is a good hobby to have.
I agree. I always say to people on these calls, I invite non-vegans onto this channel as well. As you can imagine, not many people accept for obvious reasons. But for me, I like to think of this as my form of activism. I've got a million questions that I could ask you. I hope in the future you consider coming on more times to talk about calisthenics, to talk about your relationships and all that sort of stuff as well. But I have one more question for you just before we finish off. If you could go back in time to before you were vegan or into fitness, what would you say? What would you say to yourself?
Before so I
Put it this way.
because you asked two different questions. So, like,
Yep.
for the fitness part, I would say that, you know it, you know listen to the people that have more experience than you, which sounds stupid, right? Respect the older people, because when I started in the gym, I was ego lifting a lot, and for me the progress was just about lifting more and more weights, and it did lead to some injuries, and also led to me not being motivated to work out, because all I knew was just ego lifting, and there are so many other things that help you move forward with a clearer path, rather than just no pain no gain, which I have tattooed on my arm, no pain no gain. So
Yeah.
you can imagine that. So, and when it comes to veganism, what would I say to myself?
You're holding the big screen,
Um,
you're doing activism, and your younger self approaches you and he's asking you, what are you asking about why you're holding that screen? What do you say to that person?
well, I would ask this person what they think about animals, because he didn't think much about animals. I was very disconnected to what animals are, and for me were just something below humans, and I never realized that they are just like us. They are small persons that experience life, and these were the words that I heard from Joy Armstrong that made me made the connection, because I was already someone that didn't like. So I feel like inside I was always been a good person. I never liked racist jokes, sexist jokes. I was bullied as well, so I experienced um, oppression. And yeah, so I just needed that connection, understanding that animals also deserve not to suffer and be oppressed, because they are just small person like us, and seeing them as something that's below us is just another form of discrimination, and discrimination is at the base of all evil.
I love that. That's so good. That was my last question. For anyone who's been watching and very interested to know about you and stuff, where can people find you? What's your Instagram handle? And potentially get involved with activism if they are in the south of Spain. Where's the best place for people to reach you?
All right. So if you actually need help, get your fitness on point and want to know how a simple way to approach a vegan diet, you can send me a DM on Instagram, Stefano Vegan Calisthenics, saying I want it. And I have a free PDF guide that gives you a diet plan, some mindset tips, and a 3 days per week calisthenics workout that you can do at home. And when it comes to how to start activism, I believe that Anonymous for the Voiceless has good, simple, and approachable guidelines for you to start doing activism. You can find a chapter close to you or becoming yourself an organizer. But I would add also something else, that, as you said, for you, your way of doing podcasts is activism, and absolutely 100%. Like, there are many forms of doing activism, as long as you are doing it and you're not ignoring the truth. Something that I don't like of the vegan movement is these people that judge activists that are more radical, let's say like me, and say that you should be accompanying people more giving them an easier path, with plant-based recipes, or just simply by being an example of a vegan. And I don't believe in that.
I agree. I think your form of activism is far more efficient than just saying, "Hey, here's a plant-based recipe." I think your way is just, yeah, telling the truth. And to be honest, people don't want to hear the truth. So, anyone who's watching, those links, I'll put the Anonymous for the Voiceless as well. Their links below. I'll put your links to your Instagram and everything below. That's all the time we have today. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much, Stefano. Thanks so much for your time. Have a good one, and I'll stop the recording now. Take care.